Okay. Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Marilyn, still Marilyn London, welcoming you tonight to our wonderful Shelly's program. And I thank you for joining us. And I thank you so much for being a friend of the Stirling Road Library. Because of you, we are able to have Shelly as well as our other wonderful facilitators, both on Zoom and in person at the library. So we are doing great. We have a phenomenal attendance. We have a phenomenal number of members. And if you are here tonight as a guest or here for the first time, check us out at www.stirlingfriends.org and become a friend. It's $10 a year, and you will definitely get your money's worth. And we would love to have you join us. So check us out. For those of you who are friends, hopefully you're getting everything that we're sending you. You're getting your emails. If you're not getting your emails, let us know so we could correct it. And I'm not going to go over anything in there. The one thing I will tell you is for Black History Month, on Tuesday, we will be doing The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. And for those of you who are readers, you must all know James McBride and The Color of Water specifically. And join us. So without further ado, we are all going to Japan tonight, and we're going to hear all about Still Walking. And Shelly, thank you so very much for being with us. We absolutely love having you with us, and we so appreciate you taking the time for us.
My pleasure, Marilyn. Thank you. And good evening, everyone. It's nice to see familiar faces, even familiar names, because the faces aren't there. But anyway, this month's film, yes, the first film is Still Walking. The director is Hirokazu Koreeda. And I believe we did Like Father, Like Son, which was one of his films a while back. Anyway, if anyone can be considered an heir of the great Yasujiro Ozu, who is the director of the film you will see next in 2 weeks, Tokyo Story, he is the heir to this director. From the films that he's been doing since Still Walking, like Father, Like Son, Shoplifters, The Wish, all of these films deal with families, and especially a film he did before this one, Nobody Knows, in 2004, which won at Cannes and was nominated for the Academy Award. He has produced profoundly empathetic films about human feelings. He sees intensely and tenderly into his characters. And like Ozu, he pays meticulous attention to composition and camera. As you're watching the film, you can see how he composes the frames and the camera placement. He doesn't move the camera much. He keeps it steady. Acting as his own editor, he doesn't cut for immediate effect, but for the subtle gathering of power, as he calls it. His actors look as if they could actually be the people they portray. And to us, they could be. He feels a strong connection with family members, including children separated by death or circumstances, and the children who are involved. None of his films employs melodrama. They draw us inward with concern. Koreeda is a tender humanist, and that fits well with his elegant visual style. And as you've seen, Still Walking is a story about a family that, while adhering very much to intimate cultural specifics, reveals itself through universal emotions. In Hollywood hands, this would be a disaster of dysfunction and melodrama, like I like to say, and you've seen Hollywood films like this, where they get together for Thanksgiving dinner, and instead of carving the turkey, they carve each other. And then they walk away at the end and they say, see you next year. Anyway, but we see in Hollywood films where painful issues fester, and they usually come to the surface at some point, and everyone involved is aware of them but doesn't speak of them. They just let it out. It is a film that blends gentle, but this is a film that blends gentle humor, sorrow, hidden secrets, resentments, longing, and of course, delicious food into a wonderful evocation of what binds families together, portraying how precious and annoying family can be. And sometimes at the same time, precious and annoying. Still Walking limits itself to one day and night, most of it spent inside one house in a small seaside town, as you've seen. There is a natural flow of small hatreds, resentments, joys, and insecurities, and they're all superbly caught by every member of the cast. And while it seems that not much is happening, in the end, all is revealed, possibly moving us in ways we never suspected. As with the disordered arc of many family gatherings, food is cooked and consumed amid a great deal of small talk, and children laugh loudly and run free through the rooms. The film reveals itself through each of the characters in the immediate and extended Yokoyama family. With an opening that takes us into the family kitchen, we meet mother and daughter discussing and preparing a meal. And how universal is that? One of the most universal things we can imagine, a mother and daughter cooking in the kitchen. Toshiko, the matriarch of the family, continues to mourn her long dead son and is given to making apparently thoughtless, wounding remarks along the way. And while she expresses her doubts concerning Ryota, her son, marrying a widow, at least, as she says, at least the divorcee chose to leave her husband, she reserves her best passive aggression for her husband. And a long-kept secret is revealed, as we see at one dinner. Kyohei, the patriarch, is a retired doctor, slowed with age, still marching joyously on his daily walk. He stays mostly closed off in his office and greets his son briskly. He is stubborn and temperamental, lacking patience with his family, but is also a caring doctor, as we see him dealing with the next door neighbor. And then later on, when she has an attack, how he runs out to want to be of help. Ryota, the son, he's about 40 years old. He's an art restorer, currently out of work. He recently married Yukari, a sweet and seemingly intelligent woman who does not let Ryota off the hook so easily, and works on creating a close relationship for him to be a good father to Atsushi, her 10-year-old son. His conversations with his mother, he should move in instead of Chinmai. His marriage is more of what defines normal families is these days. He should have another child, making it harder to get divorced. And when he hears, I love these comments that fly, and when he hears Kyohei telling Atsushi he should be a doctor, Ryota tells him that he won't let him be a doctor, reflecting his feelings that possibly the brother who passed away, Junpei, didn't want to be one either. Making Ryota an art restorer was a great touch in the film. Like doctors repair people, restorers fix works of art. Even if it's not quite the same thing, they reflect each other and show how Ryota found a purpose in his life, not unlike his brother. Toshiko and Kyohei eventually warm up to Yukari due to her kindness and constant effort to bond, Ryota's wife. And then there is Chinami, Ryota's oldest sister. She's married to Nobuo, a car salesman husband. She too feels the sting of her parents. Her conversations with Toshiko are so familiar. Why so many shopping bags? You play pachinko? It's not me that minds you moving, it's your father. I love the kitchen. The kitchen is a universal kitchen. I love it when she finds the shopping bags. Who didn't walk into their mother's house at some point and find a pantry closet filled with shopping bags, or plastic bags for that matter? Creator reveals that it is the quiet moments in this film that end up defining our lives. The triumph of Still Walking is that it illuminates one family's history and emotional dynamics in the simplest possible way, and it does so from the inside looking out. The arrangement of the material is cleverly nuanced. A kind of centerpiece occurs when they welcome a luncheon guest, Yoshio. This is the man Junpei died. This is why Junpei died while saving him. He is homely, he's overweight, ill at ease, squirmy, apologetic, bursting from his white dress shirt. The doctor clearly doesn't regard him as having been worth saving. Ryota, who has spent a lifetime feeling shunned by his father and considered inferior to his brother, and constantly reminded and wounded time and again, is empathetically alert to the discomfort of the young man. Why do they even invite him? He asks. He's obviously suffering during these annual visits. They invite him, he learns offhandedly, as his mother says, because she likes to see him suffer. The walk on the beach, where we see the ship lying on its side, becomes like a metaphor for the father-son relationship. It's beached. It's beached. And after, it's like a beached whale. And after Chienmi and her family leave, the rest of the family have dinner. Yukari inquires about Toshiko and Kohai's life together, which reveals the mutual resentments and disappointments that have built up along the way. Yet they remain together. When Toshiko plays the song, she puts the song on. I love it when he keeps complaining about all the music she keeps buying. But anyway, when she plays the song Blue Light Yokohama, from which the title is borrowed, by the way. The title is embedded in the song, Still Walking, Still Walking. It turns out to have a startling special significance for Toshiko, the matriarch, and its romantic, yearning lyrics provide a neat counterpoint to the film's life goes on ethos. But it is again in the moment when Kihoi, the patriarch, is in the bath that Toshiko explains that one night she heard Kihoi singing the song from another woman's house. And Toshiko then purchased the record of the song's album and would listen to it in private. He bangs his head and realizes she knew he was having an affair. She knew he was having an affair. When Toshiko, and another lovely moment is, and it's a little mixed, is when Toshiko shares the kimonos with Yukari. She's giving her, she wants to give her the best kimonos because she doesn't feel her daughter deserves them. And, it's a shared moment. She's trying to bond with her. The scene when Yukari tells Atsushi that his father will always be with him in his heart. And Atsushi, that's another scene, when she's saying to him, you're not giving him up. It's in a sense easing him into another father, but saying you still, your father will always be with you. And when Atsushi goes outside and has a conversation with his dead father, that he wants to be a piano tuner. He's connecting with his father. And the next morning when they leave, Toshiko goes to shake Yukari's hand. If you remember, when they're leaving, she goes and she shakes her hand. And when they leave, the father says, "Why did you do that? Why did you do that?" Because we haven't seen these people touch throughout the film, which is a Japanese custom. They do not show any emotion, any physical emotion outside of the relationship. And the next, and riding back to the station, Ryota and Yukari decide to renege on coming back on New Year's. The film closes on Ryota's voiceover as we see the parents walking up the steps, revealing that Chianmi never moved in and his own fulfilled promises. Yet he is driving a car. He's now driving a car, And because his mother kept bothering, drive a car so you could drive me. How many times I heard that? Drive a car, anyway, a car. And they did have a daughter, continuing the same rituals, pouring water on the gravestones. And when they spot the butterfly, the Chekhov butterfly that the mother was chasing through the house and was convinced was Junpei coming back as a butterfly. And now we see it again. And Ryota repeats what he learned from his mother. As time moves on, it is family that finally endures. A feeling for the small ways we disappoint not only each other, but also ourselves. What Still Walking excels at is providing a sense of how life is lived for these people, how they try, as we all do, to cope with the cards life deals us. This small gem of a movie always feels true and real, as it gently reveals the quiet moments that define our lives. And unlike Tokyo Story, which you'll see, which it's compared to, you will find it's not, it differs. It differs. I will not reveal how, but you will see, because it is about a mother and father dealing with their children. But here in this film, it's the parents who have generated much of the bad feelings to the rest of the family. And the performances are nothing less than pitch perfect. As the matriarch, the wonderful, her name was Kiran Kiri, who plays Toshiko, and she appeared in every one of Koreeda's films up until she passed away about 2 or 3 years ago. She was, and during the production of Still Walking, of this film, which was early on, this was the first film she worked with him in. And she told the director, Koreeda, he has to have a child in order to truly understand and appreciate what being a parent means. A year later, his wife gave birth to their daughter with, Kieran Kiri, having acted 94 films all told and winning many awards, passed away. Oh, I'm sorry, she passed away in 2018. Hiroshi Abe, as Ryota, has also appeared in more than one of Koreeda's films. He likes to work with ensembles. He gets, I would tell you, with Yosujiro Ozu. But anyway, he's worked in more than one of his films, and with Kieran Kiri in those films, again playing his mother. And he won a Best Actor award for this film in Japan. He won a Japanese Academy Award. Yoshi Harada as Kohai had appeared in over 116 films. That's the patriarch. Also winning many major awards prior to his death in 2011. The name of his sister, the older sister, Chinmay, her name is Yu, Y-O-U, Yu, that's her name. She's a singer, and she's a popular TV actress known for her girlish voice, which you heard in the film. And Yui Natsukawa as Yuriko is a popular film actress, the one who plays the wife, and won a Best Supporting Actress award for her performance in the film as well. The use of what I call pillow shots in the film, which I will tell you more about in the next film, is something where, if you notice, he cuts away to scenes of nature, scenes of children playing, trains passing by. We call those pillow shots, and they were coined by Yosujiro Ozu because they are transition shots. The theory behind them is that with the tension of the previous scene, it slows us down to think about the previous scene and then go into the next scene. So it's sort of a transitional moment in the film. They're named after what were called pillow words in Japanese poetry, which separate passages with just a word or two, seemingly unconnected, for a pause in the rhythm. It's a pause in the rhythm of the film. These shots may show, as I said, all these little details, but it has nothing to do with the film. It's their composure that seems to relax us. The music in the film is a lovely, simple guitar theme that expresses both melancholy and playfulness. You know, we see it over the kids as they play. It's a little more upbeat, and it's a little more downbeat when we see the scenes of people walking, especially the father at the beginning of the film when he's walking down, and we know why he stops and walks across to the water, which is where his son died. You know, it is one of those revelations. Every day it's as if he walks there and walks back. We get all of these little moments in the film that can be revealing, but I feel the film is very resonant of any family. We've all experienced moments like this, especially if we have siblings. We find these things to be true. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought the cinematography, as simple as it was, really captured the family. I love it when they go out to take the group photograph, and the patriarch gets so mad he walks away when they're trying to get him to pose, and he gives up. You know, it's typical. He has no patience. But yet he has patience for the kids when they come into the room and he's trying to teach them about what he does, and he tries to, you know, in a sense, bond with Ryohei's adopted son, so to speak. And so there are a lot of lovely moments in the film. I mean, even when it cuts away in the bathroom, when Ryohei goes into the bathroom and he sees the broken tile, you know, it's as if he's saying, my parents are getting old. It's the house is getting old. They're getting old. They're not paying as much attention to things. It's you know, it's basically, he is really, because he is narrator of the story, as we learn at the end, it's through his viewpoint. And the reason it's through his viewpoint, and he is an art restorer because he's dealing with art, and so is Koreeda, the director, is an artist in his own way, because this film is about him. It's about his family. His father wasn't necessarily a doctor. His father died when he was young, but his father also walked with a limp, with a cane, just the way he does. He had a sibling. He had a sister. He has a sister, and they would, you know, they would argue, and they would get together for these kinds of situations, these kinds of meals. So, in a sense, it is sort of a semi-autobiographical. It's a look into the director's life, and I thought he did a wonderful job with the film. And that's where I'll leave it. And now I'd like to invite you into the conversation. So, who would like to go first? I would like to see a hand before I go like this. So who wants to jump in there? Jackie?
You didn't even point this time.
No.
I thought, I have to agree with a few that I heard from that. We both thought it was a little bit on the slow side, but I thought it had moments that were, like you say, very revealing. I thought Mom was extremely passive aggressive, but my
Yes.
absolute favorite thing was going back and forth to the cemetery with her, because she was talking about, I don't remember exactly how she said it, but it was something along the lines of, as she's gotten older, the walk's gotten longer or harder or whatever. But my absolute favorite was when she walked up to the grave and took all those flowers out. And it's like, oh, these, we can't have these. But then she couldn't stand it. She couldn't make herself totally do that. And she put the flowers someplace else on somebody else's grave. So
Yes.
I thought that was very revealing of her. I really did. So, you know, I thought that part was really pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, it shows us nuance of character because people aren't all bad, and they, even though she could be biting, she's still a mother. We see that in the first scene when she's talking about the food, she's talking about radishes and they're peeling the corn, and they make the corn. I mean, there's a lot of memory in the film. When she is popping the corn and they're smelling it and tasting it, they're remembering when they were kids and how I think they stole the corn from the neighbor at one point, and he remembers that. And then they talk about, and the picture that he drew, which they claim, was his brother's picture, and he's pasting it back together. I mean, there are all these moments that reveal character. It is those private moments that show us who these people are. And I think that's, and that's something we can appreciate. We can appreciate. Thank you, Jackie. Marilyn?
Okay. As Shelley and I said earlier, Jackie, that it was a universal. This is a universal family. It could be, the script could be in any country. How it was handled in Japan just made it very culturally different, and each country would have the same script totally differently. But in this one, the part that really made me very sad was when Yoshio, the person who was saved, came to the house. He was so miserable and so uncomfortable, and I think that was portrayed well. But when the mother said she wants him to keep coming back every year because she wants him to feel so awful, because he represented something she hated, and I felt so sad for her. First of all, you can't ever put yourself in somebody else's shoes. When you lose a child, there is nothing worse in the whole world. So I'm not saying anything about how she reacts. She's totally entitled, as any mother, as to how they would react. But I felt so sad for her because she's never going to be able to move forward as long as she holds on to that passive aggressiveness that Jackie talked about. So for me,
Yeah.
that was like the saddest part of the movie.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the sad moments, definitely. She's trying to hold on to that, and she's trying also to hold on to him, to the son she lost. I mean, seeing the butterfly, she doesn't, she's having a hard time letting that go, and he's a representation of why he died, and she just wants him there to suffer. She wants him to feel ill at ease, to feel this. It's not a good feeling that we get from it. And yet, as Jackie so eloquently said, she takes the flowers and puts them on another grave. They're the nuances of character, and I think he really picks that up in the film. He really picks that up in the film.
Forward. It reminded me of the Quebec license plate, guys. Je me souviens. As long as you keep remembering, you can't go forward.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Thank you. Karen.
Well, I was thinking that their idolization of the son, the one who passed away, probably would have been quite different if he actually had lived. And I wondered about the shoes. She said that his shoes were left on the sand, and I just wondered if maybe he was thinking of committing suicide. But anyway, that was what I was thinking. They were attributing the other sons, his actions and his words to their son who died, and it just I'm sure probably they wouldn't have been any happier with him either. He would have done something wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always something to be angry about, but that's an interesting observation. That's possible. And that's why he ran in to save him. He's not a happy person to begin with. So it is possible. He's floundering through life. at this point. And that is an interesting thought. But so thank you. That is true. Jackie, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I did. I just was gonna quick say with Marilyn's, I agree, Marilyn. I thought that scene was heartbreaking, to be honest with you. It bothered me a lot because the poor boy, for no fault of his own, was there every year and was so uncomfortable and he felt so guilty. And I was okay. I thought they were doing something nice to try to make him feel good and part of the family. And yet when mom said that about she wanted to see him suffer, I had an entirely different reaction to her, and it was not a particularly nice one. So while I felt somewhat sorry for her, my heart was broken for that young boy.
Yeah. Well, look, it's imagine, Rioja had that reaction. Is like, why do you do this? It's not fair to him. It's even not fair to her, because she feels this hatred. And the father too really has no patience for it. It's they talk about his socks. You look at his socks, everybody has a comment, and it's terrible. It's terrible. We feel for him. It's what we call a squirmy moment in the film. It makes members of the family squirm. It makes some of us squirm at the same time. On this when she makes the comment. So it is it's a revelatory moment also in the film that we get. But yes, it's true. It's true. She can't let go, and therefore she can't move forward, as Marilyn said. Linda? You have to unmute, Linda.
I felt that the film was a little slow, but I think he brought out that even though the family members are together, they're all isolated. They're all locked within themselves. Each one of them bears a certain major problem. The husband, the young son, he was living in the shadow of his brother. Um, you know, the others have already described some of the problems, but uh, it's hard for me to see such coldness. And you said that that is the Japanese culture. Um, but even in such a situation, they will still not warm up to the other people within their families when things go wrong. I'm asking a question,
It's really, well, as I said, this is sort of semi-autobiographical. It's human. It's human to be this way. It's not necessarily every family, as we say. I don't think it's every Japanese family, especially not today. I mean, they're much more modern in many aspects, even to the point of showing emotion outside of the home. But it's here. It's in a sense we learned that the son dying, the mother never let go of. So she's the crux of all of this, and it affects the whole family. The daughter got away. She married, probably married younger, and she's got the two kids and the husband who's also a bit schleppy, and they leave. It's they argue at the beginning. They can argue with one another. She wants to move in. She wants the house. She never does get it. We see why. Ryohei is busy with a married a divorced woman. In Japan, there was that feeling of her expression is one that's echoed in Japan. It's better to marry a woman who leaves her husband than one who lost her husband.
Well, she's definitely negative. She doesn't find any joy in anything. She couldn't wait for her daughter and the family to leave.
Yep.
It's too much for her. Yeah, she very
Yeah, and
negative
she's bearing a long time grudge against the husband. We
Yeah,
mustn't forget
yeah,
that. We see
yeah.
that revealed. So she lives in her own moments. And yes, it is revealing of every family. I mean, look, we saw the most universal play in the world play, not musical, play is Death of a Salesman. Okay, it's the most universal play in the world. It's been performed in almost every country in the world. And that family, I mean, you want to look at a family that tears itself apart, there you go. So we see antecedents to this film even in our own culture. And that's, and that's that's why, it goes back to Tolstoy. Every family, every happy family is happy in the same way. Every unhappy family, whoa, that's where the stories begin. That's where the stories begin. So
I still remember his name, Willie Loman.
yes, attention must be paid. Anyway, thank you, Linda. But it's true. What you're seeing is a truism, which is projected in the film. So who else? Anybody else out there? Anybody else have a comment? Sandra, go ahead. Can't seem to unmute.
Most people would love it if I had that problem.
No,
Try again, Sandra. It's okay.
still muted.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't unmute people. We can mute them, but we can't unmute them. I'm sorry, Sandra.
Oh.
Okay, well, you keep trying. When you get in, we'll let you go. Anybody else?
No, just
Anybody else?
waiting for Sandra. Talking about the Japanese culture and how nationalistic I see Japan used to be. I don't know if it's still as much as it was. I had a friend whose son was in the army in Japan and married a Japanese girl. They had a child, a little girl, and that marriage didn't last. And he came back to the States after a lot of goings on. The mother of the child, the Japanese mother of this child, and this child is now well into her late 30s. So we're going back a long time. And she gave up the child because she knew that being a divorced woman in Japan would make it very difficult for her. Maybe even because she had a half white, half Japanese child. I don't even know if that came into it, but she literally walked away from that child. So the child came here and was brought up by the father and has really had almost no contact with her mother at all.
Oh, how sad.
That, which is very sad, but from what I remember at the time, it was because in Japan, she apparently felt that she obviously was very young at that point, and she would just not be able to get over the fact that she was a divorced woman in Japan then. But maybe it was because of the white child. I don't know. But it was a very sad situation. And I don't know if that was the Japanese culture, because I've always sort of seen that in Japan it's very nationalistic, and I don't know that you could ever get Japanese citizenship if you are not born Japanese. I see that from the books that I've read of the Koreans, who then we talked about Pachinko, about the Koreans who then came to Japan, and they were never considered to be Japanese.
No, you're absolutely right. They are, they do not invite citizenship. They even, discourage any attempt at it. And yes, his situation and her situation, the couple, it was probably that she was probably scorned for marrying non-Japanese, and the child would be looked at that way. So a Japanese man would not want that, would also not want that child. So it'd be very difficult. Be very difficult. It is sad. It is sad. And they are, to that extent, nationalistic. They have let other groups come in because they've needed them to work there and settle there. They let them live there on a longer term basis than just a visa. Believe it or not, there is a small Brazilian population living in Japan. They became guest workers, and so they're living there. But it is a very insular society. It is a very insular society, still is to this
Sandra's
day.
unmuted.
Yeah. Sandra.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I went out and came back in and then it worked. I just,
Good.
anyways, I was just commenting on something different. I love the music. I love the music. I almost said to my husband, I wish I could get like a recording of it. It was lovely. And I love the food shots, the things in the pot, the cutting up on the board, the way those corn were. I was taken with all that stuff. I thought it was nicely done, and the way she sliced onions, the way they made those corn fritters, the way that was very much, I guess. And I also noticed a comment where she said, the mother, oh, me, I've never had a job. And I'm thinking, look at the house you do, look at the keep you do, but that's a job.
That's a job.
Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Nothing that.
No, it's what you're paying attention to, all those details
Yeah.
that resonate because you can certainly identify with it no matter what culture you're in. The smells, the preparations.
Oh, I could almost taste it. It was, it was
Yeah, but you can even in your own family growing up, you've experienced these things and they create memories. This is,
I guess
it's Proustian in a way, because you take a bite out of the cookie, you take a bite out of the food, and you remember, it opens up memories, and that's what the food does, even in that culture, is what he's saying, which is
there was another scene where they focused on the kids' feet and they were wearing these flip-flops that were way too big. Was that anything?
Well, yeah, it's just the fact that, these are the shoes they get when they come to the house.
Okay.
Because they have to take off their shoes.
The shoes, yeah.
So they're wearing the older shoes. Yeah, very good. Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Linda?
Yeah, she just perked a memory. I was laughing when the father said, I don't know why they keep calling it Grandma's house.
Yes. Yeah, he says, it's not our house. It's my house. Absolutely. It's this ownership thing. It's identity. It's identity. It was sad. You talk about moments like the one, with the mother, when the next door neighbor who he was talking to at the beginning, when he goes out, when the ambulance comes and they shuffle him aside, it's like saying, you're not practicing anymore. You're not a doctor anymore. We don't recognize you. And it's hurtful. It hurts. It's hurtful to him. He feels like this is, I've been pushed aside. He doesn't want to feel that he's not useful, that he's not contributing to something. And that's why he keeps the office the way he does. Looks at it that way. So it is true. And that's why he takes the pride of house the way he does. Terrific. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Okay. Well, if you thought this film was slow, get ready for the next one. And I say that sarcastically because I don't want you to worry about the time, Watch the movie. I mean, it's not necessarily a slow movie. And I don't like the term slow anyway. It's paced. I like to call it paced. And this is long considered a masterpiece. It's been picked by directors around the world as one of the greatest films ever made. I know you'll be a judge of that. And you have to remember, it's looking at the filmmaking. And, I always like to say, we say in life, we say, the present is informed by the past. The present is informed by the past. And in cinema, I like to believe that the past or films about the past are informed by the present, meaning that directors will put something in a film that seems to resonate in the present. It has meaning for us. They sometimes put reference points in. Well, in this case, it's really more about just resonating as another film about family. And it is very understandable. It's very different because it's the story, it's a touching film of the name of this family is the Hirayama family. Sounds almost like the Toriyama family. When the elderly Shukishi and his wife Tomi take the long journey from their small seaside village to visit their adult children in Tokyo, they will find that life and the structure of family has changed. First of all, it's post-war. It's not long after the war. It's the early 50s. We see how modernity has changed it, how Western culture has changed it. Look for those things in the film. Really look and see how Western culture, how we leak into the film, from the clothing to words and certain things that go on. And it forces them to come to terms with the new world as they go and visit each one. Now, it is a film that has spawned a film just like it in every culture. There is a film like it that was adapted from that in Italy, one in China, one in America. It's in fact, this was adapted from an American film, but I will tell you that next week, which is very interesting. And I will recommend, if you can, to see the American film, but I'm not going to tell you about it now because I want you to see this and experience this for the first time. But watch it for, what the culture is like, and the little things he shoots, the little asides, the little cutaways, the things he focuses on, much the way. And the reason I do this again is to show how this film impresses on the film you just saw, on Still Walking. You will see similarities in framing, similarities in what he captures. And I'll talk about also, watch the camera work, where the camera's situated, how it's situated. And I'll get into that discussion next week. But pay attention to those things if you can remember, because they're all masterwork things that directors have picked up on. This film is a template for a lot of directors that would come from this. That's why the past is informing the present in many ways. So I hope you will enjoy it, and you will have, all of you, Jackie, you will have your favorite characters in this film. You will pick out certain characters and understand the dynamic that's working in it, and see almost a relationship between that film and this one, in terms of the characters, in terms of the dynamic of characters who are relating to each other. So I hope you enjoy it. This is, this whole session, these films up until we come into the summer are all, today and yesterday, and a way of comparing and contrasting the filmmaking and the ideas. and the culture and the differences in culture yesterday and today. So I will look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for Tokyo Story. I thank you. And I
Okay,
want you to remember,
you.
as you get my emails, you'll notice at the bottom of the email, I have a new line there. It says, it's not just film, it's conversation. It's not just about film, it's conversation. And I want to have a conversation. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. I love sharing these things with you, and I want you to share with me. So I will look forward to seeing you non-silent in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thank
Night,
you.
Have a
everybody.
good trip. Have a
Thank
good
you.
trip, Jackie and
Thank
Larry.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Take care. Yeah. Come back with some
Bye-bye.
memories.
Thank you, Shelley. Really good.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
Everybody,
Wendy.
happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, and happy
Everybody.
Valentine's Day.